Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we will be discussing my Game Week 11 team selection. I'll also run you through my Game Week 10 team and how you got on. Little spoiler, we got a massive green arrow and I'm delighted with it. We'll also look at some of my transfer plans going forward, and without further ado, let's get straight into it. So this will be a bit of a longer video. Be sure to skip in if I'm boring you. I can completely understand. People have lives and it is what it is. But do me a favor, hit that like button while you're down there and be sure to leave me a comment. Tell me how you're getting on this game week, or last game week, sorry, and some of your plans for this week. Let's get straight into this though. So I again absolutely smashed it on the transfer side of things again in game week 10. I done Haaland to, of course, Kuna, and Dibbling to Salah. Apologies if it's a bit mixed on the graphic, but it probably does make a bit more sense to see it as Haaland to Salah and Dibbling to Kuna. And that, of course, with captaincy on Salah, gained us 24 points, 22 overall if you account for the transfers. So absolutely massive. Now, it was a swingy week, and I can completely understand if you weren't for this move. For me, it was never about the actual individual players that you're seeing in front of you. It was more so the funds and the structure of the team with Salah in it and Kuna. It leaves me a bit more flexible, which we'll get into in just a second. And also, you'd have to default putting the armband on Haaland for the next few weeks. And I also feel like Haaland owners were a small bit unfortunate with the high XG he had, of course, in the late minutes when he had that big chance. So a massive green arrow, 700k places to 1.5 million and 56 points. Like I say and have said it in recent weeks, not where I want to be at this point in the season, but this is the third week in a row where in 3 weeks we've made 6 transfers and we're after gaining, I want to say, at least 60 points between the 6 transfers. So in that vein, it's absolutely ridiculous. Can it carry on? I don't know, but these are the little micro transactions that I have to be nailing, and as long as I hit these on the head, everything else is out of my control. So let's move on to how the team got on. So looking at the defense for game week 11, we have 1 free transfer and 1.8 million in the bank. As it stands, Rodgers is on my bench, and so is Mikalenko and Greaves. And I completely forgot about not owning Fabianski. I felt like I did bring in Fabianski on my wildcard, but I never must have clicked and save. To be honest, I'm happy because I would currently have a benching headache on a weekly basis with Fabianski and Ederson. Ederson, who seems to be a crock of poo currently. So, Ederson on goal with Brighton away, Trent with Villa at home, Aït-Nouri with that lovely Southampton at home, and Rico Lewis versus Brighton away. If you had told me Rico Lewis was guaranteed to start, I'd be absolutely delighted, to be honest. Do I think he'll start? I'm unsure. I just feel like City have been poor. And just Rico Lewis is a bit weak when it comes from a defensive point of view. Don't get me wrong, he can do a lot of things that not many, if any, fullbacks in the league can do. He plays a role which is fairly advanced, getting involved in the attack. But I just wonder, will City want to shore up on the defence a small bit and play Walker, who hasn't been great in recent games, but realistically he still is a better defender than Lewis. I don't mind holding on to Ederson either for the time being. Don't get me wrong, you probably expect City to concede in this Brighton away fixture, but it is what it is, and I go into this game week without a doubt starting Lewis and Ederson rather than playing Mikalenko. So next is Renan Aït-Nouri, a player that a lot of people are looking to bring in this game week. He is literally playing, he might as well be playing number 9 with the chances he's getting and the areas he's picking up. But Southampton at home, of course, a lovely, lovely fixture. Defensively, Wolves haven't looked great at all, but I mean, you can't have everything. Like, he'd be breaking the game if he had clean sheet potential and attacking return. So more than happy to own Aït-Nouri, which we brought in game week 9, I believe, and looking forward to owning them versus Southampton. Next is Trent, of course, at home to Villa. I really don't know how to feel about this one. I have mixed emotions about Trent currently. This Villa game will be tough for Liverpool, of course. Villa coming off the back of a really difficult loss against Spurs. Not an ideal result midweek during the Champions League as well. So a lot of teams going through ruts. Good to see Spurs doing well at least. And one man that is on my mind while we're talking about Spurs is Pedro Porro with that Ipswich at home fixture. Again, there is a transfer plan section near the end of the video, so stick around for that. Going back to Trent though, I do think he's definitely a hold for the time being. I don't really feel like I need to get rid of him. Of course, Liverpool do have a nice fixture or two coming up, one of them being against Southampton as well. So potentially even a captaincy shout. We've not seen a massive haul come from Trent just yet. We've seen the clean sheets, but yet to see it the massive attacking hauls we're used to. More than happy though going into this game week with Trent. Let's move on to the midfield. So taking a look at the midfield, we've got Cole Palmer with Arsenal at home, Mohamed Salah versus Villa at home, Alejandro Garnacho with Leicester at home, and Mbeumo with Bournemouth at home. 4 really nice midfielders. I think specifically for this game week, providing Cole Palmer plays. For me, Cole Palmer is almost fixture proof. But again, it really does rely on whether or not he plays. So from my own perspective, a lot of people will have questions on Palmer, what to do with him. Right now, on this Thursday, I plan on holding him for the time being. I think it's likely he still plays. I don't know why I feel like that. Maybe it's just me wanting him to start, but I think for now I'm definitely going to hold on to him. Maybe it's not rational though, and I probably should look at getting rid of him. Of course, we do have Rodgers on the bench versus Liverpool if Palmer doesn't feature, and I think I'll be using my one free transfer elsewhere. Again, we will discuss that in a moment. Next is Mohamed Salah with Villa at home. You know Salah, I don't need to tell you about him. He can come up with anything against anyone, anywhere, anytime. It's a lovely fixture, especially when you consider Villa conceding 4 to Spurs, which I don't think many people expected. I called a 3-1 in that game, and of course it was 4, so lovely fixture at Anfield for Liverpool, and Liverpool are firing on all cylinders recently, so more than happy to have Salah for this fixture, and he's definitely up for debate on whether if you want to captain him or not. Let's move on to Alejandro Garnacho. A really exciting one for me. I really like him. And I do feel like he's consistently getting chances now. We're after seeing the turnover in manager and a nice little result for United. And they take that draw against Chelsea. But for me, Garnacho's an easy hold. Of course, we'll have to see what type of changes happen when Amaran comes in. But Leicester at home, absolutely no doubt. I think in my mind that if he's going to start or not, I feel like Garnacho's been one of their best players this season. Didn't have the greatest game against Chelsea, but again, I did feel like he had chances. What's interesting with Garnacho is whether or not he's going to play on the left or the right. He started the Chelsea game on the right, which I do think he's less effective from. Where on the left, he's almost gliding and he can easily take on his fullback. But let's see. I feel like Leicester will be an open game. There will be chances for both teams, most likely. And hopefully he can come away with a return. Next on the list is Bryan Mbeumo, of course. He's been an absolute gem this season. Bournemouth at home, no complaints with this fixture. Bournemouth have looked quite good, don't get me wrong, but if anyone's going to get something for Brentford, you'd like to think it will go through Mbeumo. Didn't quite do it last week, but of course, at that price range and the money I have tied in them, I don't think I have any doubts with holding Mbeumo for the time being. So that's the midfield. Let's get on to our 3 forwards. So looking at the forward line, we've got Dominic Solanke versus Ipswich at home, Kuna with Southampton at home, and Havertz versus Chelsea away. First of all, overall the team looks very, very solid this week. I'd be very disappointed with anything other than a green arrow if I'm being honest. Let's start with Solanke with Ipswich at home, who we've touched on a small bit. For me, the armband is currently on Dominic Solanke, and it will come down to what Spurs do tonight in this Europa League fixture. Also, one little note, I'm on above average FPL. 3 of us Spurs boys, me, Adam and Baker, we will be discussing Spurs, so look out for that. And I look forward to seeing anyone that's looking to join us and hear us chat absolute biased opinions on Spurs. But I genuinely feel Solanke is a good captaincy shout this week. Especially when I consider Son probably having reduced minutes, probably going around 70, 75 minutes. I'd be surprised if he gets any more than that, especially with the early sub last week. Again, 2 players that probably won't get any minutes tonight. But the reason being, that leaves Dominic Solanke's pen share for about 15 to 20 minutes while he's still on the pitch, which is appealing to me. And also the bookies odds, I think they have Solanke edging over Haaland this week, with around 0.75 expected goals for Solanke and about 0.74 for Haaland. Now, I don't own Erling Haaland, so the decision is a bit easier for me. The other man I can throw the armband on is Mohamed Salah. But I think this is an opportunity to do something a small bit more different after a 16-point haul, 2 goals and 1 assist. And let's be real, Spurs are, if not one of the best attacking teams in the league. The numbers back it up this time around. You don't have to listen to me make it up this time. And I like what I see, I'll be honest. I feel like Solanke's minutes are fairly secure, especially with this Richarlison injury. So that's enough of me hyping up the Spurs, boys. I think time will tell, and I won't need to even say it anymore. People will start realising, hopefully anyway. Let's move on to Matheus Cunha, who looks very, very good, I have to say, for this Wolves team. He's largely influential on the bonus point system. When he plays well. And if he returns, he usually gets bonus points. Of course, we didn't see it last week with only an assist, but more than happy to own Cunha. I don't know how long term I feel like it's going to be. Don't get me wrong, the fixtures are excellent. But there's another man knocking on the door, and his name is João Pedro, who, after next week, after City, has some really, really good fixtures. So let's see what happens with Matheus Cunha in my team. Of course, more than happy to have him, and I feel like people are still looking to bring him in, and it's always a good sign. And the last man in the team is Kai Havertz, and he plays against his old team Chelsea away. The last time he played against Chelsea, he scored 2 goals. He played 74 minutes, and I think this time around, providing he's fit, due to the head injury he got midweek, I do expect him to start. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. And of course he's not concussed, so just a big cut in his head. See if he patches up well. But he is one of the players that I'm potentially looking to get rid of. This Chelsea away fixture is not ideal. Of course, Martin Odegaard is also back for Arsenal, but Arsenal haven't looked great from an attacking point of view recently. They haven't looked great on a defensive point of view either, but I still feel like they're a very strong defense. But for me, one of the moves I'm looking at making is Kai Havertz to Alexander Isak. And on that point, let's move on to our transfer plans. So of course, taking a look at the last slide of this video, which is the transfer plans part, which a lot of people are here for. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button before we get into it. And if you're not already, hit that subscribe button. So the move I was talking about is Kai Havertz up to Alexander Isak. Again, for anyone that was in my stream last Saturday, you would have heard me go on about potentially doing the Havertz to Isak move last week, even with that Arsenal fixture. Isak looks to be back, a bullet header of course against Arsenal, and he is the main man for Newcastle. Newcastle look a bit better, I have to say, and Anthony Gordon is playing quite well off the right. So I feel like these Newcastle assets are appealing. Of course, he is Nottingham Forest away, which on paper, if you look at the numbers, maybe not the best, but Newcastle Forest, I feel like there could be goals in this game. It's interesting that Isak is that bit more expensive than Havertz. When I look at it in that vein, like I could potentially even go to a João Pedro at some point if I wanted to. And when I look at that, then I could potentially move one of my midfielders like Mbeumo or Garnacho up to Bukayo Saka eventually. And I think the only thing that stops me from doing that is the current way the fixtures are playing out. You know, I'm getting rid of Kai Havertz versus Chelsea to get in Isak with Nottingham Forest away, which I do prefer. Right now, I'm a bit on the fence though. If you look at my defence, like I said, I've also got Rico Lewis at the back. And Rico Lewis, he's not guaranteed starts with Walker being back. I would say he's more likely to start than not. But Pedro Porro at 5.5 with Ipswich at home, one of the best fixtures this season. And we know Porro, even though he's been fairly quiet, but Maddison out of the team, I don't know if he's going to stay out of the team. You imagine he'd start this Ipswich at home. But if he doesn't, that leaves Pedro Porro on the corners and set pieces. Of course, Maddison did score a set piece during the week versus Villa. But besides the point, if he's not on the pitch, you can't score him. So Pedro Porro definitely one that's on my radar. Another move that I haven't quite spoke about is moving Palmer down to a Saka, but that doesn't appeal to me as much as these two in front of you. And I think that goes down to having the likes of a Rodgers off the bench to cover for Palmer if he's not available. So that brings us to the end of the video. Let me know what you think of these moves. Again, leave a comment and let me know what you're doing this week. I'm intrigued. I'll get back to absolutely as many as possible. And thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next.